today we're going to be looking at the last set of notes for Unit 3, the electoral process. Political campaigns. Voting is the most basic exercise of popular sovereignty. Our democracy depends on citizens being actively engaged in the electoral process. Political, Political campaigns are expensive. Someone is running for office must determine if it's worth it because you have ads to pay for, you need a staff of people, it's a whole process. So if you're going to enter a political campaign, a political race, you need to make sure you can kind of follow through. Campaigns are hard work. Local candidates can walk door to door, attend local functions. You have to get your name out, introduce yourself to the community. Presidential candidates can travel thousands of miles campaigning because they need to target audiences all across our country. They're attempting to reach as many voters as possible. TV and radio ads can help to spread their message. Financing campaigns. Much of campaigning is spent fundraising because you need money for your campaign. Sources of campaign funds are PACs, political action committees, so these special interest groups that want to fund your campaign because they like what you stand for. The candidate's party, so it can be funded by the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, private individuals, personal funds. If you are rich, you can fund your own campaign, and also public funds. So hard money. Hard money is money donated to a campaign. Laws limit how much money can be donated. So candidates have to file reports with state and federal officials to list how much money has been given. Soft money. This is money donated to a party rather than a candidate. So you donate to the Democratic Party. They determine who's going to get the money. And so this is a way to get around financing restrictions. Choosing candidates. So candidates are nominated by political parties. The candidate needs to make an announcement in one of the following ways. A self-announcement involves a registration process, circulating a petition to get on the ballot. This is mostly at the local level. They must obtain signatures of voters in the district. You can also be a write-in candidate. So this is usually an independent candidate or challenger to the party's preferred candidate. And they ask voters to write in their name. Usually these write-in candidates don't have a strong chance to win because if they would have been more popular, they would have been on the ballot. But it is a way to run and to potentially win, but it's much harder to win as a write-in candidate. Choosing candidates. So caucuses. Caucuses are a meeting of party members who select the candidates to run for election. This began in the early 1800s. State party leaders would meet and select candidates. So this is still used in a few states like Iowa. So while most states have primaries, Iowa still has the Iowa caucuses. So people will meet, they discuss who they're going to nominate, and it's a whole process. And so this is open to all party members in the precinct. You also have conventions. Local conventions choose delegates to the party's state convention. State conventions choose candidates for statewide offices. In presidential years, they select delegates to the party's national nominating convention, and they will select a president and a vice president candidate. Primary election. If more than one member of a political party seeks the same office, a direct primary election is held. So a direct primary, the party's candidates for office is chosen directly by voters. So two types of primaries. You have closed primaries. Only voters registered as a party member can vote in selecting the party's candidate. You have an open primary. Any registered voter may vote in either party's primary or but only one. Most states hold presidential primary elections, may also choose some or all of the state's party members who will be delegates to the party's national convention. So we usually see primaries when, comes for presidential elections and the Republicans don't know which candidate they're going to choose and or the Democrats don't know. So all of the different states vote to say which Democratic candidate they like the best, who they feel will have the best chance to be the presidential candidate. So once that's determined, then they go to the Democratic National Convention. They decide, okay, Joe Biden's going to be our candidate. So he's now officially the Democratic candidate. But if you remember in the primary, he had a lot of challengers like Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren. And so people had to select which one they thought would be the best. Other elections. General election. At the end of a campaign in which the winning candidate is elected into office, a plurality, more votes than anyone else, is required in most states. Some states require a majority over 50%. Special elections, sometimes held at the state or local level to allow the people to decide an issue rather than the government. So example, raising taxes or replace a vacant office seat. Holding an election. General election dates are set by law. So the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November of every even-numbered year. So it can't be November 1st on a Tuesday. It would have to be the next, right after the first Monday in November. Yeah, so there has to be, the Monday would have to be first. Most states hold their elections on the same day. Procedure. Voters go to the polling place in their precinct, run by workers paid by local election authority. Voters cast a secret ballot. Most votes are cast electronically now. Mail-in ballots before the election are now popular in most states, can be turned into the polling place the day of the election. And absentee ballots can be requested by members of the armed forces and people who will be away on election day. So recently there's been a move to really push for mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, because sometimes people can't vote on that day if people work. So to allow for people to send in their ballot, drop it off. Ultimately, we should be trying to make the voting process easier, or more accessible, I should say, to get more participation. Campaigns and public good. The outcomes of elections determine which policies should continue and which should change. Citizens are allowed to express their opinions on how the country should be run. Criticism of campaigns. The reliance on a 30-second TV spot, the fact that commercials kind of weigh so much in the way that people think politically. It can distort or omit info, leading to misinformation. Many people dislike negative campaigning. Candidates have found that attacking an opponent is the best way to win. In addition to registration requirements, these may be a cause of low voter turnout. So if people don't like what they see in the campaign, it may just turn them off to voting for either candidate. So this is the end of the notes. You want to make sure you go back and fill in your key terms.